Do you feel like you're floundering under the weight of all the decisions in your home rental, remodel, or design project? And you just wish you could pick the brain and chat it out with a designer to get the clarity you seek? Well, now you can. Hi, Samantha. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks.
Perfect. So we're going to dive right into an Ask a Designer brainstorming session. And in order to kick that off, how about you tell me where it is that's going on, what projects you're working on, and how you're feeling with your space as a whole?
So we just bought this house. It's a new like spec build.
Okay.
So it's fairly blank canvas. And so just looking for ideas because I'm, like I said in my intro sheet, I can pull nice things, but they don't always look good together.
Yes. Okay. Perfect. Okay, so to kick things off first, I'm going to share my screen.
Okay.
We can dive into this. Okay, so first of all, a couple questions. You mentioned in your intake form, when I asked kind of what the end goal is for the project, is to feel satisfied. And that because we can't visualize the space, it often ends up in indecision and then buying the wrong thing. So are you able to go a bit deeper into what feeling satisfied is for you?
I think just like being able to walk in and just feel I don't know, just at home, I guess, like, and to just feel like in the past when I've decorated, like I said, it's just random things, but they don't always go together and there's no like flow. Okay. So just like walk in and just feel satisfied with what I'm looking at.
Okay. So I do invite you to go slightly deeper, a little bit more in. Also look at, and the reason why is in order to figure out what that satisfaction is going to be, we need to understand and kind of reverse engineer it to what it is that we need the space to achieve for us. So what is working in your entry space right now and what is not working?
Right. Okay. So right now, honestly, it's pretty much blank. That bench is there simply because we had it. It used to be in our master bedroom at the foot of the bed, but I didn't want it there anymore. So I just kind of threw it there.
Okay.
That bench is more like a collection place. Like kids throw their toques and gloves on there, and I don't like it.
Okay, so on top, okay, so how many people are living in the house right now?
5.
5. So yourself, your husband, 3 children?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you have ample storage within the center? Because we have a lot of doors. So where do those doors lead to in order for that stuff to go?
So all of their stuff mostly is in the door on the left there. That's to the garage. They have little cubbies for their gloves and everything and boots.
Okay, so then walk me through in terms. So when you're coming in through that door through the left, you basically would come in, and I guess I'm assuming you're standing in a corner, and then you would be faced with that wall that you have the bench on, and then you would turn left. And what's in those 2 doors?
That's the closet where we hang our jackets, but the kids don't hang jackets there. Their jackets go in the garage on their hooks.
Okay, so then
that's just all the extra stuff.
So we're extra stuff, coat closet and such, and then you go down the corridor, and then that leads into the rest of your space, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so because by virtue in the fact that you're coming through the garage, which I'm assuming is your main entry point, is your family.
Yeah.
One of your questions is what would be better useful for this space? It would be more of a docking station. So putting in that type of a console table where you can kind of have like a bowl, you can check your keys and all that type of stuff is definitely the way to go. In terms of what that looks like, though, it's going to really depend upon how we're going to piece the whole thing together to create that flow that you're seeking.
Yeah.
So we can answer the question in terms of how you currently use your entry. So right now, everything just kind of lands on that bench, which is never ideal.
Yeah. I always try to clean it off too. So
I created a little bench, like a little sitting area, and still stuff just ends up being chucked wherever. Yeah. So it's how do we really create that intentionally that it's like, this is where this goes, and then you would ease this way. And do people that are visiting you, they don't also enter through that door, do they?
No, they would enter like where I'm standing there, like behind me. That's the front door.
Okay, so it's front door and garage door.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so whatever goes there, also I want it to like look nice, just because that is where if someone comes and rings my doorbell or is coming over to visit, they see everything in that entryway.
Perfect. Okay. So that also runs my thought process in terms of if you have guests coming in and they have shoes and stuff like that, they're also going to need some type of versatility to sit down if needed to pop on their shoes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we can do an open style console table, which you could do some little like poofs or such that slide on underneath, which would kind of marry both ideas. Okay, so this is the one area, and this is going downwards, and then this is another view around. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the purpose of that. So, and then you also mentioned in your intake form that you don't really know what your style is, which honestly is completely normal. The way that design language is thrown around these days, it's very saturated and it's very difficult to actually pin, say what modern or boho or whatever is, because everything's kind of put together. So instead of trying to pick a name and to classify what it is that you like, let's look at it differently. And there's two ways of doing that. The first way is to look at what's in your closet and what's your style.
Yeah.
So are you...
I would say my style is just super simple, minimalistic, and comfort.
Okay. Do you have a lot of colors, or are you more muted tones, kind of texture on texture?
Yeah, more muted, I would say.
Okay. So then
I tend to go for black, but I try to add in, when I do add in colors, they're more like pastel, muted colors.
Okay. So you're more a pastel person.
Yeah.
Okay. See, this is where it starts to come in, because if you were to do a very dark saturated color or a bright color, because say it's on trend, it's not going to resonate with you because it's not something that you're drawn to naturally.
Yes.
And then the other way of doing it is if we pop up these photos, instead of looking at it from a design style classification, what particular pieces in these photos are you drawn to?
I really like the pink color. That's kind of my go-to color.
Okay.
Like the blush pinks. Mm-hmm. And then I love the like greens, like kind of that more like exactly what that wall color is. Like if I'm picking like clothes again, I would pick a shirt that color.
Okay. So like the muted kind of sagey tones. Okay.
Yeah.
And then in this room?
I just like, I mean, I know it's edited, but I just feel like it looks very like comfortable and it's just very simple and bright and airy. Like there's nothing like dark or no crazy colors.
Okay, so let's unpack that one a bit. The reason why it's comfortable honestly has to do with the layers of textures. So this is a blush home. She's very good at doing it, is that it is tone on tone in many aspects. She doesn't have a lot of contrast in her space, where the two area rugs are very similar in their tones, as well as the sofa and then the actual upholstery that's on the two chairs. Everything is pretty much the same color, but she's adding that depth through the textural differences. She's got the different textures in the two area rugs, as well as she's got all those little color pops on the sofas, and then the different tactile texture that she's bringing in through the cushions and like the little throw pillows. So that's what's adding to that idea of comfort. And then she's also layering it in with the drapery. The simpleness is that she's basically picked one palette, which is like this neutral monochromatic. And then she's picked, her colors are added in through small accents, as opposed to a big, bold color.
Yeah.
That's also the bright and airiness, is the white on white. This photo.
Yeah, so that's actually when we bought the house, I needed to buy a table. I pretty much copied this exactly. My table looks almost identical. I got the black chairs because we kind of have some black accents, go like our all our cabinet pulls and everything are black.
Okay.
So that I kind of wanted to pull in the black a little bit. So I have the black chairs, and yeah, same thing. I feel like it's kind of got a little rustic vibes, and I kind of like that. Okay. Yeah, and again, light, neutral.
Again, there is textural on here, though. They have done tonally like a white wall with then a textural. I think it's wall tile, or it's board and batten. on the back wall that's given a bit of a distressed look. So again, it's playing color tonally the same, but they're adding that visual texture, which is what helps you see it as a kind of like a relief, and that there's something more interesting going on. And the black accents is very important. So you did pick up on that, which is if you've got black points in other areas of your house and you're bringing it into other rooms, you need to start playing with it intentionally and actually have it be a color in your space, and then incorporate it in small, medium, and large, basically like platforms and accent points throughout, so that it feels like it's intentional and not just sporadic.
Right. Okay.
So we've got the chairs here, and I guess the dining room is adjacent to that living room space.
Yeah, it's right behind the couch.
Okay, so we've got the chairs behind the sofa that are black. So in that living room, we'll bring some type of black accent portion into there as well.
Okay.
And I guess this was another photo for the inspiration for the dining room.
Yeah, very similar kind of setup they got.
Okay, any other portions of this photo that's speaking to you in terms of what drew you to it?
No, not necessarily. I think it was more just me looking for ideas for kitchen tables.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so then if we go and we start actually looking at thought processes, let's do your hallway first. Okay. You have a very long hallway.
Yes.
And when we're dealt with spaces either this way and then perpendicular to it that are very long and narrow, the best way to design those spaces is to accentuate its length and play on that in terms of forms of repetition. So that's the wrong folder. What we would want to do is bring in that repetition. You've got that long wall as you're coming from the living space to the entry point.
Yeah.
Always do an pair of off numbers, never do evens. There's a rule of thirds basically in design. So either 3, 5s, or 7s. Your eye visually doesn't like even numbers. I don't know why, but it doesn't. So if we look at it'll look off, and it'll look off balance basically. So in this photo, what it's done in two very specific things. One, it's playing on that very long wall, which you have opposite side. And they are having that odd number repetition in photos. They're also accentuating the length visually through the lighting that's above you.
Okay.
So if you have an opportunity, if you can't add wiring, there are rechargeable light bulbs you can get from Amazon. So you can basically purchase the semi-flush pendants, install them, put a rechargeable light bulb in, and then it's got like a little remote, and it can be like it's wired in if you don't want to go through the portion of adding actual additional electrical to your space. But it's 1, 2, they have 4, but they've accentuated that line visually through the lighting. And then they've given you a very intentional place for your eye to rest at the end of the hallway.
Okay.
You don't have the space in that hallway to put, say, a credenza or something, but you could put a big art feature. You could put a mirror there in order to elongate the space. We need to put something on that back wall that when you're coming down from your living room space, it's like, oh, there's an intention through this.
Okay. My only question with that was, though, because that wall is right beside the garage door, and then to center it with the hallway, it wouldn't be center when you're looking at it in the entryway.
You mean this one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so I know it's hard to tell in that photo, but it would be off center then from this view. Yeah.
So what you're going to do is you're going to basically center the picture. And also you've got is that an actual light switch, or is that just an extra?
No, there's a light switch there too. So it kind of also messes with it a little bit.
So you wouldn't be able to go as wide. You could do a wider and a bit higher and put something here. Or you could do it as kind of like a skinny and long. Or you can play with it in terms of a pop of color. And then this wall, entire wall, to zoom out all the way in order for that to work. This entire wall all the way from end to end becomes painted.
It becomes which, sorry?
It could be an accent color. So you could do it that green color.
Okay.
And that one would introduce the tones that you're working for. And then 2, from this point, visually, you would just see that accent color and be drawn to it.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, but I wasn't sure if doing an accent wall on that side would be visually like appealing, I guess, because normally it would be the opposite wall, that big blank wall that
This
you would
one,
want to paint. No, in the entryway where the bench is.
the bench, honestly, I'll show you what I would do to the bench. I wouldn't paint that one. I would do it more through wall sconces and like tactile items to add on to that wall rather than paint.
Okay.
So, and then this long wall here, this is where you would do that repetition of like 3 family photos or 3 art pieces or something.
Okay. Yeah,
And
for again, that wall you can see from like the kitchen stools, from the couch.
so
it's
then
kind of front and center to, you can see it everywhere.
and there's a attachment piece. I can send you the link. It's through Amazon. It's relatively inexpensive, but you can easily switch out any pot light to a semi-flush or a flush mount light. So you wouldn't have to rewire this. It's an attachment component that goes into the junction box in the ceiling, and then it just attaches your new light fixture to that. And you've got your 3 pot lights in here. You could create that linear line focal going down that hallway much more easily.
Okay.
Okay, so that's that portion. So again, repetition, not on the same wall, but again, on that long wall, we want to play with that idea of the thirds. You could also, if you didn't want to do 3 lights that are dissimilar, you could keep pot lights flanking either side and get one very large, lovely flush mount pendant that you then suspend in the center pot light as well.
Okay.
Depends what it is you're looking to create.
Yeah.
Again, accentuating that line. And then this is an idea where you could then move around that light switch that you need to keep in the space, kind of creating basically an asymmetrical gallery wall on that main focal.
Okay.
And see, this is where they've done it as the same color on this wall and then accentuated that back wall as well. So we can look at which walls you would paint in order to kind of wrap it around.
Okay.
That's, again, the lighting. Here's the console thought process. So we get something, I don't think you have the length to do this. We get something that is intentionally filling the proportion of the space, has a bit more volume, a bit more mass to it. If it's open underneath, you could put 2 little poof ottomans or cute stools or something under there. That when guests are coming in through the main entry door, and also like a little place where a basket or something that guests can put their shoes, that when they're coming in through the entry door, they know where it is that they can sit down to take their shoes off or put their shoes back on, and they know where they put their shoes and then where their coats would go.
Right.
And then rather than painting this wall, I would suggest highlighting it visually through more tactile portions, like a mirror, which is going to make the room feel wider and longer.
Okay.
We're going to put some more artwork flanking either side, and then some wall sconces to kind of bring, again, heighten that space so that you're playing with both levels. And then just a pop of greenery of some sort, which you could do as a large floor plant or a plant that sits on top of your console table.
Okay. Yeah, I like that.
And then that way it's playing with both.
Right.
And what you can also do in your space is you do have an area rug on this side. You can also play with this length coming from this way and add either the same area rug or a coordinating one running down this portion of the corridor as well.
Okay. I don't know if they make runners that big. It's really long.
How long is it?
Oh, I don't even know. Like what's the biggest area runner?
You can get like 3x10s.
Yeah, that would not even be close.
So it doesn't have to touch it. It's actually better if it doesn't. It's better if you leave like a 1 to 2 feet gap between where your one area rug finishes and then your next area rug would start, so that it visually looks like they kind of create an elbow, but they're not, like, they don't have to be right up against one.
Okay, yeah. The rug that's in the entryway is a 10-foot rug.
Okay, so what I probably do is bring it back to like this line here where your doorway is, and then have that rug start there.
Okay.
If you can find one that's long enough. I think if you go on Overstock or Wayfair, they do have ones that are pretty decently priced that you could get like a 10 or 11-foot rug.
Okay.
All right, now to the next one, which is your living room. All right. Yep. So what's working in here for you and what's not?
I hate the shelf on the right. It looks weird.
Okay.
We need a coffee table. And then my issue here with these little alcove things, whatever you want to call them,
Mhm.
that one on the left, so that's the stairs there going downstairs.
Yeah.
But the wall is different thicknesses. So like by the TV, it's like 11 inches thick, and then by the stairs, it's like 8 inches or something. So
You're
they're
talking
not
the depth
even.
that you have?
What's that?
You're talking the depth that you have?
Yeah, the depth in that alcove is the same.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then that side's bigger than this one on the right as well.
Yes. So you're looking at it visually. No, it's not even. It is. It's an asymmetrical fireplace. Okay.
Yeah.
So how you deal with an asymmetrical fireplace is very different than a symmetrical fireplace. A symmetrical one where you either have the same weight on either side or you've intentionally created cabinetry or alcoves or something that exists on either side that it's exactly the same. You can design it so that it's not exactly mirrored, but the weight visually is already basically dispersed along that linear axis, both horizontally and vertically, so that your eye goes, oh, okay, massing and volume wise, these are the same. On this, you've got a little bit of a play of eye going because when you look at it, it kind of looks like it is symmetrical. But then when you really look at it, you're like, oh, actually, no, the left side with the fact that it opens to the stairs is not. So the visual weight of the room is pushed to the left.
Yes.
So we have to play with that, which means that if the weight already exists on the left on an asymmetrical axis, you have to heighten up the weight on the right.
Okay.
So in order for like in anything that you're doing with your eye, you're trying to create triangles. So if we've already got an axis over here on the left that's heavily weighted by the way that the stairs are framed on relationship to your fireplace, you want to beef up the right side visually so that it starts to be like, oh, okay, you know, there's a line here and the weight is evenly dispersed basically.
Okay.
So to do that, you have a fairly large sofa.
Yeah. That's in
So
our last previous house, and we'd like, because this is our only like family room, I guess, like where we can like watch TV, watch movies kind of thing.
okay. Have you purchased an area rug yet on this space?
No, and that was one thing I want to add.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I want.
So I don't know the exact dimensions of your room, but again, this is going to just depend upon what we do with this. Where does this come out? What about maybe a foot past where your fireplace ends, lengthwise?
Like really small. So
Okay.
that's why I was like, because the couch is already so chunky.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't want to like add more like bulk, I guess, to the room.
Yeah.
Because in the pictures, that's like it's just zoomed out. So I think it looks kind of bigger in the pictures.
Yeah, you can tell from this side that it's tighter than it is showing in this one, which is fine. Okay, so how do we do this? You've got your weight going over this side to your staircase.
Mm-hmm.
This cabinet here, why it's feeling very off tilted right now is that this is too short on this side and then it's just kind of like dies away. So we want to
and that was kind of thrown there because I didn't have a place to put things, so I just threw that there as a for now until I figure out what I'm gonna do.
Yes, welcome to my house. Bunch of random stuff thrown everywhere. Until again I figure out what I'm going to do. So I would go and I would purchase a bookcase. IKEA has their Billy ones, which are decently priced. And then you could actually add framing to it and like trim molding so that it looks like it's built into it and do like a little bit of a crown detailing, have your shelving in there. That will marry the height visually that's going on the left side from your staircase. So we're then going to create this line that comes from here and goes, okay, we've got a big tall bookcase on this side. That line is now carried off. And then how you style this, you need to bring not weight down, but kind of throughout. So you have, how much of a space do you have from where this ends to where your sofa would start?
There's I don't know, like 3 feet, maybe.
Okay. And is that from the edge of the like temporary bookshelf,
Yeah.
basically? Okay, so you
Yeah.
got about 3 feet space from there. An actual bookcase, you don't need to make this deep. You could probably do a 15 or an 18-inch depth. That doesn't need to be the exact same depth as the fireplace.
Okay.
So if we do a little bit shallower, you'll have a bit more space. If it's just a bookcase, I wouldn't put a side chair there, but you could do a very lovely kind of heavily weighted on legs, kind of ornate style side table, and then have a very large, lovely lamp on it. And then that would also help to increase that linear line so that you've got more weight happening over here.
Okay.
And then depending upon what other little trinkets and books and stuff that you put here, that will help you to then have that weight dispersed. And then you don't want this side to feel like it's just forgotten. So you could put some floating shelves going on over here that when you can put your plants on it and a little bit of extra little trinkets that you could create that triangle angle that you need from what's going on the left side now of whatever you put on your new bookshelf that then carries over across. And you're like, oh, I've got some more books over here and some little trinkets, and then it's carrying down. So you're always trying to create like angles that your eye is visually passing through.
Okay.
So you did have the right idea here with black baskets to tie into the black that's in the other portion of your house. I don't, depending upon how you do your bookshelf, I don't know if the big heavy black baskets will work, but you can do it with maybe their black brackets that could be for your shelving. That would tie in the black. You do have a lot over here with your TV and such. So you've already got that element, so it doesn't need to be as heavy.
Okay.
Now, area rug size, what you're going to want, typically your rug needs to extend 12 to 16 inches on either side of your area rug. And then the legs of the area rug or the sofa need to be on the rug.
Okay, yeah.
So how big is your sofa roughly?
It's like, it's two and two on each side, and then like the corner.
Okay.
I don't know. I have no idea.
It looks big.
It is.
Is that like a 30-inch model?
Between the couch and like the stools there too, there's only like a couple feet there.
Yeah. So we wouldn't want it to extend too far out because then it's going to kind of feel like it's coming into this portion with your stairs going down too much.
Yeah.
You might be able to get away with an 8x10. I'd measure it.
Okay.
A 10-foot, because if that's a 30, and then, yeah, so an 8-foot, a 10-foot across might fit. And it's okay if it goes more underneath the legs. You're looking for it kind of to feel like it's balanced in terms of if it's more underneath this portion of the sofa, so that on this side, it's not sticking out too far, that's fine. It's just so that it feels like it's creating that comfort that you're seeking and then designating that zone.
Okay.
Now, if you're looking for that added texture, because we are playing a bit with the white curtains or blinds with the whiter walls and the white base, if you wanted to play on that tone on tone, you could do a layer carpet similar to the blush home, where you have a big chunky knit, and then you do something that's got a very light kind of organic pattern to it.
Yeah.
And then your sofa is heavy.
Yes.
So if we go back to the blush home one, the other reason why her space feels light and airy is because she's mixing her furniture. So she's got a heavier set sofa that is mixed with lighter balanced furniture. So that's what's creating that idea of airiness.
Okay.
So you have a heavier set sofa, one in terms of its size, but also the fact that it's lower to the ground. So whenever we're pairing furniture, what we want to look at is how, it's a weird way of thinking about it, but how is air going to flow? So if we have a heavier set sofa that sits closer to the ground, that's a point where air is going to get stuck. So we need to give it opportunities for it to travel around. So we wouldn't put a coffee table, for instance, in your particular living space that is big and chunky. Yeah. It would feel too heavy next to your heavy weighted sofa. So go with a lighter style coffee table that is up on legs. And then if you have the space, I don't know if you do in yours, you might be able to put like say little two poofs over here for some additional seating if you need it.
Okay.
Or I don't think you have the space for a side chair because of the way that your
Yeah, I think if you put a chair in there, it would look very
Yeah,
congested.
too close. Yeah. So instead of a poos, they have these cute, kind of like what you have with your little garden table, but ones with like leather tops to them and such that are actually like little stools. So you could put those on top here. That would feel light and airy, and then get yourself some layered textural area rugs and put a lighter feeling coffee table on it. Because of the overall L-shaped size of your sofa, don't go with a skinny rectangle. You're gonna need a square.
Okay, yep.
But one that's up on legs.
Okay. Square, would a circle work too, or?
A circle would work too. Don't go anything smaller. Measure it, because I don't know the exact measurement of your sofa, and I can give you my measurement guidelines. I'll send you an email, because I can't remember it off the top of my head, to be honest. But there's a way of measuring the coffee tables and side tables that you would need in proportion to your sofa. So basically it takes it from your inside dimensions of your arms, and then what that height should be, and then what that relationship is. But you're going to need about a 36-inch, I would say, diameter if you're going to go circular, which would be a nice, more whimsical feeling because everything is very linear, or a more square.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Perfect. Any other questions you have for me?
I don't think so. So maybe just looking at this living room here. So doing a bookshelf on the right, because that's kind of what I was thinking, but I wasn't sure if that's going to look off balanced. But then doing shelves on the left, would there be another potential option, like to just not do shelves there? Just because there is like a light switch there.
Yeah. I've got some stuff. So this is an example of an asymmetrical. It's more built-in, which you don't have a depth for, but you could do if you could do a smaller built-in on the left-hand side. Here's, give me 1 second. I'm going to close my door.
Okay.
Okay. So you could do a situation where you could build in the left-hand side a bit, but have it less deep. So then that would actually work within your space, and then that would help to create your weight. See how on this situation, they have visually amplified the weight on the left by the fact that it's all records and it's very dense. Versus the right side, it's more free flowing. There's less stuff there. So the weight is able to be balanced on either side.
Okay. Yeah.
And then on this side, this is an example of a symmetrical situation. This is an asymmetrical gone wrong. And I give you this for an example in terms of this side. What they've done is similar to what I'm suggesting, except not the TV on the corner. They've done a larger millwork on the right, and then they just kind of left it on the left, but then did a small little side table. We're off balance because the weight and the height proportion of this is not giving us the angle that we need for this to feel like it's balanced. It's just all on one side.
Okay.
So you could do something like this with like 1 or 2 shelves, but what you would put on this side, or even just a skinny little table, what you need to put on this side needs to be taller. The reason why this feels off is you got a tiny little dinky portrait and a tiny little dinky vase with some flowers in it.
That's exactly probably what I would do, something like this.
So that's no problem with doing a little side console, skinny little console, but whatever you put on the wall above needs to be bigger and fill the wall, and then put, like from that example of, oh, it's because I'm zoomed in. Wrong way. Something like this on it.
Okay.
Like that has weight to it, so it's going to make it feel like the left side is now, it's not competing, and it's not feeling like it's forgotten from you.
Okay, perfect.
And this is a full-on balanced one, so you can see how it, or not balanced, symmetrical fireplace. So that's how that is done in terms of a symmetrical statement. This is another example of a asymmetrical. So again, similar to yours. You could even do it in less of a full bookcase. You could do it similar to this, where it's just got low cabinets below and then shelving above. Like that as well. And then it doesn't have to be so built in, and gives you more opportunity to use the back as something that you can put a vase to help accentuate that height. You don't have the space for a side chair. but you could do this idea of a side table that they've used on this side in order to bring up that weight.
Okay.
And then this, it would be a good example of a coffee table for you.
Okay.
And then the area rug actually can work as well. That is an example of a visual tactile. So it's got like a very light pattern to it, which is giving you a little bit of that visual texture that you need.
Right. Okay. Perfect. So then if I did the floating shelves would it work then to just do like 3 above the light switch?
Yeah.
And not all the way down?
Yeah. So if you did this versus a full built-in and you do the base cabinets, see how these are aligned? So the same line that this shelf is that shelf and then that shelf. And then they've just put an extra shelf here. So then you just do that, except you would nix the bottom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then that can actually work, or depending upon the size of the little side kind of stools, if that's the direction you want to go, they could bank underneath your open shelving.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
And then they can be pulled out if kind of you've got extra people around or you're doing a game night or something like that around your newly round coffee table.
Okay. Love it.
And actually to really bring in a bit more depth and then to tie into your hallway that's just across adjacent, I would look at giving yourself a little semi-flush pendant in your living room space.
Okay.
So wherever that center coffee table ends up sitting, then put a light above it. Don't do a hanging light because it will visually distract from like how you view the TV and get in the way. But if you did like a flush mount or a semi-flush, so it's only like 6 or 8 inches down, that will really help to create that zone and make it feel like it's this own lovely little comfortable space.
Okay. Okay. Perfect.
Yeah. Any other questions for you?
No, I think we've covered it all.
Perfect. Was that helpful?
Very.
If you found this helpful, be sure to give us a like, hit subscribe to be notified when new videos drop, and be sure to share this with someone who could use a design boost. And if you're struggling in your very own red own remodel or design project and want your very own design brainstorming session, be sure to click the link in the description below and snag your spot today.